Okay, let's take a little trip down memory lane. Back to the playgrounds, the dusty side streets, back to our childhoods. We're going to talk about something really small, something made of just simple cardboard. But man, it held this entire universe of stories, rivalries, and friendships. We're talking about text cards.
No, really, think about it for a second. When was the last time you actually felt the worn-out edges of a stack of these in your hand? Sizing up your opponent, getting ready for that perfect flip to win it all? I know for a lot of us, it's probably been a while, but I bet that memory, it's still crystal clear.
And that's exactly what they were, right? These little mini comic cards, with their bright colors and faded corners, they were an absolute staple for so many Filipino kids for decades. They weren't just paper. Not at all. They were like a form of currency, a status symbol, and yeah, the source of so much fun, and, let's be honest, the occasional heartbreak.
But, if you're not familiar with it, you might think it's just some simple game of chance. Oh no, it was a whole world with its own language, its own unwritten rules, and some very, very real stakes. So let's dive into the amazing culture that just popped up around these humble little cards.
See, it all came down to one thing, the Tia tube. And this wasn't just some random flick of the wrist. It was a total art form. You had to master the angle, the power, the spin. It was absolutely crucial to get those cards to flip just right. Every single player had their own signature style, this secret technique they swore was the best. This one little move was the heart and soul of the game.
So, what was everyone playing for? What was the ultimate prize? The pamangulo. This was it. This was the card you wanted. It was the key to winning the whole pot. And let me tell you, losing your pamangulo was just soul-crushing, a total defeat. But winning one, oh, that made you the undisputed king of the playground for the day. The stakes weren't just high, they felt like everything.
And of course, there was always the final boss, the ultimate risk. Didn't matter how big your collection was, it could all vanish in an instant. This pretty much sums it up. The universal fear of Nanay, of mom, finding your stash, calling them clutter, or worse, a form of gambling, and then just confiscating them forever. A truly tragic end to a legendary collection. But the story of these cards, it doesn't just stop with our childhood memories. It actually has this surprisingly deep and rich history, one that goes back a lot farther than you'd probably guess. Yep, you heard that right, the 1930s. These little pieces of cardboard have been a part of growing up in the Philippines for almost a century now. But, and this is the crazy part, they didn't always look the way we remember them, not even close. Just look at how these things have evolved over time. It's fascinating. When they first showed up in the 1930s, they were huge, like the size of postcards. And instead of the comic book heroes we all know, they had the faces of famous Filipino movie stars on them, like the father of the legendary action star Fernando Poe Jr. I mean, it's such a wild transformation when you put it side by side like this. You go from these big, celebrity-focused collector's items to these pocket-sized, comic-themed cards that were basically playground currency. It really shows you how the whole culture around entertainment for kids changed over the decades, moving from the big silver screen to the colorful pages of comic books. So, why are we still talking about these cards? Why do they have such a special place in our hearts? Well, it's because their legacy is about so much more than just the paper they were printed on. You see, text cards are more than just a game. They're this cultural touchstone that connects millions of Filipinos, even across different generations. They were kind of our first classroom for understanding probability, skill, and the often brutal nature of luck. Friendships were built on a fair trade, and bitter rivalries were born from a devastating loss. They're a real, tangible piece of our collective history, a little piece of cardboard that holds a whole universe of memories.
And I think that's the real heart of it, isn't it? They weren't just a game. They were how we learned to negotiate. They were a test of friendship, and they were a symbol of a time when all you needed for a whole afternoon of fun was a few good friends and a pocket full of cards. They were a fundamental part of growing up.
So as we wrap up this little look back, it kind of makes you wonder, right? Maybe for you it was texts, maybe it was marbles or pogs or something completely different. We all have that one game that just defined a piece of our childhood. What's yours?